Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the 4GLOBAL PLC results investor presentation. Throughout this recorded presentation, investors will be in listen-only mode. Questions are encouraged. They can be submitted at any time using the Q&A tab just situated on the right-hand corner of your screen. Just please simply type in your question at any time and press send. The company may not be in a position to answer every question it receives during the meeting itself. However, the company review all questions submitted today and publish responses where it is appropriate to do so. Before we begin, we would like to submit the following poll, and if you would give that your kind attention, I'm sure that would be warmly welcomed by the company. And I'd now like to hand over to CEO Eloy Mathon. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Mark. As Mark said, I'm Eloy Mathon. I'm the CEO and founder of 4GLOBAL, and here with me today I've got Keith Sadler, who is our CFO. I'd like to thank everyone for joining us today. We're very excited to be here with you today, introducing and presenting our first results as a public listed company. We've put together a brief presentation which is split in two parts. Part one is to reacquaint everyone with 4GLOBAL, and the second part goes into our results. So I'll start by taking you through our company. So we are a data and technology and services international business focused exclusively in the sector of sport and health. We have recurring revenues from our technology and data platform, and we also generate revenues from our services, very much aligned to using the data and the technology platform that we also use for service revenue. And what's really unique about us is that we've built one of the largest databases of sport participation in the world that our customers use to draw critical insights to the running of the business, as you will see later on. And as a business, we are profitable, we are cash generative, and as you will see on our results, we've got a very robust balance sheet. So I just wanted to give you an overview of our business, and I'll go into each one of these bits in more detail later on. So in terms of our history and our track record, we started in 2002, and on the first phase of our business, we were very much a service-focused business, and we worked assisting cities and right owners like the IOC, FIFA, UEFA, and others in maximizing the return on their investment on sport, but also on sporting events. And we became one of the leading advisors worldwide. It was around 2012 that we shifted our attention to get more granularity and visibility on the actual social and economic return on investment from sport and major sporting events. And it was then that we started building our data hub with the data I made reference to, but also our sport intelligence platform. And as we progress on this second phase of our company, we started transitioning from a consulting only revenues to a mixed revenue, which then resulted on our IPO in December 2021. So about 6 months ago, which allowed us to enter into what we call the rapid growth part of our history. Our customers are very much segmented in two core groups. Private sector clients, they account for about 84% of our revenue, and they include activity providers, which is mainly sport facility operators, sporting federations, whether they're national federations or international federations, right owners, so these would be sporting federations that have got a product like the IOC or FIFA or UEFA, Commonwealth Games federations, and more recently, brands and the health and life insurance companies, which I'll talk in more detail later on. The second segment of customers that we have are public sector clients, which accounts for about 16% of our total revenue, and they include governments and cities primarily. And here are some of the examples of the fantastic organizations that we've worked over the years, and we continue working with it. And just to give you a flavor of the type of work that we do for them, for example, for Sport England, they license our platform to target where they're going to invest on physical activity in England, but also to monitor and evaluate the impact on that investment in terms of physical activity and health outcomes. When you look at other examples like GLL, one of the biggest operators, sport facilities operators in the UK, they license all of our software and data platforms to manage the business insights, which allow them to run much more efficiently and also target their investments on new. or for example, going internationally to Europe Active, which is the body that amalgamates all the operators within Europe. They've licensed our platform to accumulate the data from all the European operators and then draw insights from it. So that hopefully gives you a flavor for the type of customers that we have and the type of work that we do for them. But in essence, both client groups want the same thing and the same outcome, which is to get that intimate understanding of physical activity and what gets people into a sport or keep them active. In the case of the public sector, there's a huge interest in getting people active because of the social and economic outcomes. And the private sector is all about understanding this group of people and how to identify them, attract them, and retain them as customers. So in order to do that, they need loads of data to draw those insights as to who are these people, where are they, what type of activity do they do, what stops them being active, what makes them being active. All that insight requires a lot of data, which is why we've built one of the biggest databases of sport participation in the world. And we call it the Sport Intelligence Platform. When we IPO'd 6 months ago, we were declaring it had 21 million unique individuals. We're now tracking 25 million. It's growing every day because of the live connections. It contains 1.5 billion data points on physical activity, and it helps us generating recurrent revenue, but also service revenue. And our customers love it, as you can see by the retention rates. If I can just take some time to explain the platform, at the core of it is the data hub, which is this unique asset that I've been talking about. And that's where we accumulate all the data from all the data owners across not just the UK, but Europe and the North American market. And we collect this data through integrations that we have to different systems like CRM systems, payment systems, some wearables, etc. And all of this is underpinned by fully compliant fully GDPR compliant data user agreements that allows us to collect, store, and commercialize the data within the agreement that we've signed with the data owners. And just also as an indicator, on average, in our sector, people on organizations build about 6 integrations on average to different data sources. We've got in excess of 60 integrations, a total different order of magnitude, which is why we've got such a huge database, which is such a huge asset. So turning our attention to how do we monetize on this great database that we built, as you can see on the outer layer, those are the platforms that we've developed, which are user and segment specific, to draw the insights from the data that then our customers use to run the business, improve their efficiencies, and target their investments. And we've added a 5th component to this chart, which is around the data commercialization, which is where people tap into the data directly and they conduct their own analysis and draw their own insights. So as you can see, it's a really powerful database that powers everything that we do. And we like to say that, you know, every time a person is active, we actually know about it. So that is our platform. And how we generate revenue from these, our model is very simple and it's not dissimilar to many other great organizations out there. We get our data for free from our customers, and then we sell it back as insight, which is insight not just about their own operation, but about the whole sector. And that's why they're prepared to buy the insight from us. And that allows us to generate 2 sources of revenue. And one is the recurrent revenue from licensing our software, but also from the commercialization model that I alluded to on the previous slide. And then we also, the service part of our business is still very important, as you'll see. And that's where we also use the data and our platform to generate revenue and advise customers around sport, around physical activity, and our data insights. And for us, the investment case for existing shareholders and potential new shareholders is investing in 4GLOBAL, who is operating in a unique market. We've developed a unique asset, and we've got unique clients, which is going to drive that real rapid growth and geographical expansion, as you'll see when we talk about our results. So hopefully that gives you a very quick overview about who we are, what we do, and what's really unique about us. I'd like now to move to the second part of our presentation, which is around our results. And we're really pleased with the results this year, especially around the year when we IPO. So I'm going to start by talking you through some of the key financial statistics, and Keith will get into more detail around the financials. But in terms of the highlights, revenue increased by 36% in comparison to the previous year, and our operating profit increased by 14%. Our service part of the business continued to grow at a good 9% rate, but it was our subscription revenue that really took off, and we achieved 105% increase in revenue in our subscription part of the business, which is true to our strategy of migrate from a pure service oriented business for a more subscription-based business. And when you compare to previous years, so in the previous year, our subscription revenue was about 28% of our revenue, whereas this year we've bumped it up to 43%. So we're getting closer to that parity with the service, and we're really pleased with these results. I would now like to take you through our strategy that we introduced and presented to some of you at the IPO, but also like to expand on how we're getting on in executing our strategy. So at the IPO, we presented 3 pillars rather than 4, as you see today, to our growth strategy. One was around landing new clients and expanding existing relationships. The other one was around our international expansion to the European and the North American sector. And the third one was around the mergers and acquisitions, which was one of the prime reasons to come to the market. At the time of the IPO, there was a number of areas that we were exploring, but we didn't feel they were mature enough to add them either to any focus or any growth projections, and certainly as part of our strategy. And one of those areas was around new data revenue streams. I'm really pleased to announce today that that has now become a reality, and we are including that as a new pillar on a growth strategy. So we are launching a new data revenue streams around commercialization of our data within the data user agreements that we've already signed. So let me talk you through how we've got on in executing on these strategies. So last year, we landed an expanding relationship with over 40 clients. That's within the last 12 months. And we managed to secure almost £8 million worth of businesses in sales last year. Not all to be delivered last year or this year, but it's a significant amount of sales that we achieved last year. Part of this is thanks to the strategy that we've implemented around the 4 pillars, as I've just talked you through, but also about the work that we've done in strengthening our team. We've brought in a new hire, Kirsten Obenhauer, who is a Chief Customer Officer, who's been working very hard around streamlining our customer journey and reducing sales cycles. And also we've strengthened our account management and customer success team. So it's a very good result here in terms of landing and expanding clients, but also that fantastic £8 million almost in new business. In terms of our international expansion, as we said here, is in full swing. If you remember at the IPO, our strategy was around securing a foothold in Europe and then gradually start migrating to the North American market through the service entry point. If I start on the European market, our contract with Europe Active has come from strength to strength. We've launched the European Data Hub, which is used to collect all the data from European operators, and very soon we'll achieve integration with over 10,000 sites. And just to put into context, that compares to about 2,500 of the UK market. We've got some current live pilots with top German operators and some really exciting strategic partnerships in that market, and we're currently operating in 4 countries. So our expansion in Europe is in full swing and is going as we planned. In the North American market, what we have seen is a reversal to a certain degree of our strategy, whereas originally we anticipated a very slow and gradual entry through the service that will then lead us to technology. What we've seen is that the demand and interest for our products, technology and data is far beyond what we anticipated. So we've actually reversed our strategy and we're going in technology and data first. And we've in Canada in particular, we've signed an agreement with the Fitness Industry Council of Canada to start accumulating all the data for their operators so we can drop insights, especially around social value, with that great partnership we've got with Sheffield Hallam University. We've done a very successful market launch and we've signed an exclusive partnership with Hamilton 2030, who is looking at hosting the 2030 Commonwealth Games, who are looking at using our services, technology and data to maximize the social value that they create on the back of the Commonwealth Games before, during and after. So that will be a very long-term relationship. In the US market, we have continued the partnership that we developed in the UK with Jonas many years ago. We now exporting that to the North America market, and we have got a fantastic relationship with them there. We're currently going to be piloting our platform with them on the top 6 clients. And just to put into context, Jonas is one of the leading CRM providers for facilities in the North American market, and the client base currently is bigger than the whole of the UK market. So this is a great opportunity, it's a great partnership for us that we're piloting at the moment, and would allows us to penetrate the US market far quicker and far more efficient than we have anticipated. So all in all, we're very happy with our progress in executing on this international expansion strategy. On the M&A pillar of our growth strategy, obviously there's not a lot that I can say for commercial reasons, but enough to say that we have a very strong deal pipeline with a number of targets being currently evaluated, and we're in advanced conversations with the top 3 candidates, and we hope to bring some good news to the market in the near future. But just to recap on the principles of an M&A strategy, which was part of the reason to come into the market, we are determined for these acquisitions to be accretive. They bolt-on acquisitions, so we are not looking at huge acquisitions. They're very targeted, very strategic acquisitions. They're all around technology and data. We're not looking at acquiring companies in the service space. One of the key tests is that they have to be, these organizations need to be revenue generated and profitable. We're not looking at acquiring businesses that we then have to invest a lot of time and money to get into a profitable and revenue generating position. We felt that given the stage in development of our business and our growth strategy, that was the right approach. And we're going to be using the cash that we raise at IPO because we want to minimize the share exchange and coming back to the market for more. And finally, the data commercialization, which is one of our key new revenue streams that we're going to be adding to the business. At the time of the IPO, we wanted to explore what was the right area to start off this commercialization. And for that, we needed to understand where was our current data set of value, either on our existing market or in adjacent markets. And what we found is that the insurance market is the right target for us because the data that we have and the level of granularity of our data is of great use, interest and value to the insurance companies, especially on the life and health side of things, for 2 reasons. One, from a marketing point of view, to help them identify, target, acquire and retain potential customers that align to the brand, but also from the risk profile and understanding the risk profile and therefore the premiums that need to be charged from an underwriter point of view. The added advantage of this sector for us is our ability to link physical activity to health outcomes, both in terms of health conditions, but also in terms of financial terms, which is also great value to the insurance market. And the other synergies that we see is that the regional and global data strategy that we're implementing at the moment, in particularly in the US, fits very well with where our high potential insurance markets. I think in the US, it was measured at $1 trillion value for that market. We're not saying we're going to tap a percentage of that. Shows the huge potential, the new market where our data could be utilized. The other added benefit is that it's got limited or not changed to our product. It's very much transferable as it is, so we're not going to have to spend a lot of money in changing our data. And we've already developed and validated the detailed user cases with WeGo, and we can do all of these respecting and honoring all the data user agreement that we signed with the data owners. Because for us, that relationship with the data owners is very critical. It's based on trust and it's based on those data user agreements that we sign, and we will obey by that. So we're very excited about this new area to our strategy, and we think it's got great potential. And just to finish off my part, one question that we often get asked is around, if those are our 4 pillars of growth, what would be the differentiator that would bring that event horizon forward in terms of delivering bigger growth and bigger numbers in our organization. And for us, it's very clear, it's around these two. It's around the acquisitions, which will drive significant growth in the medium to long term, and that's going to be key to bring that event horizon forward. But also around the commercialization on data. We see that as an area that's got huge potential to accelerate the growth of revenues in the coming months and years. So that's it from me. I would like to hand over to Keith that will talk you through the detail on the financial results. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Eloy. Good afternoon, everybody. We're getting a few questions on the right-hand side. I think hopefully a couple have been answered in Eloy's presentation, but if not, we'll quickly run through those at the end of this presentation. As Eloy has said, I'll just quickly go through, hopefully you've all seen our preliminary announcement, and I'll just quickly go over those numbers. Get the number out in the marketplace. We reported a loss of 1.6 million after our tax position. That was actually us having the IPO process and bringing the company to market. So there were a number of exceptional costs which we have identified separately, and that's why we have reported an adjusted operating performance as well. But as Eloy has said, this has been a really fantastic year for the business. We've grown revenues by 36% in the year to March 22, and that's on the back of an IPO that we successfully did in December of 2021. Our gross profit also grew from 1.8 million to 2.6 million, an increase of 43%. And as I said, we have quite a simple profit and loss account, and the flow through from that number to an adjusted EBITDA, which would be the easiest way of measuring it, we reported 573,000, an uplift of about 2.6% from the reported adjusted number of the previous year. Previous year benefited from government grant money, and if you exclude that, our actual operating performance was up 14% at 573,000. As we've both said, we IPO'd in December of last year, and our balance sheet is robust on that basis, and we generated a net 3.6 million in cash, and we have 3.1 million of cash on our balance sheet at the moment, up from the 800,000 we reported the previous year. Thank you. This is our income statement in shades of grey, so apologies for if that doesn't show up too well. But there you can see the detail of those numbers that went down to our profit after tax, loss after tax of 1.6 million, and we have put through those adjustments, exceptional items of 2.1 million, share-based payment expense and depreciation, which would be normal add backs when presenting our numbers as we go forward, so that we've got something that we can talk to on comparative basis. So we go from that loss of 1.6 back up to that profit of 573. We don't anticipate, obviously, because we won't be IPOing every year, any exceptional items of that quantum. The depreciation and share-based payment charges we will always show as adjustments, adding back, as I said, to a comparable EBITDA line. So just quickly, and really to emphasize our revenue growth and the areas of growth, again, this is in the preliminary announcement. We've got our profit, our revenues growing, as I said, from that 2.7 million to the 3.6, and the biggest area, as Eloy has said, was in our subscription revenues, which have gone from 800,000 up to 1.5 million. We call it subscriptions, consultancy and subscriptions. There is a blurring of our revenue streams between these two areas. Consultants also help and assist in business insight when somebody has bought a license in for our platforms. And then we've got that reconciliation, as I said, little bit of repeat, but in reverse, if you like, from the loss down to our headline EBITDA line of 573,000. And then we have the whole business is actually quite simple. We've got a fantastic data hub, which is a unique database. We don't show that value. We haven't capitalized anything of that on our balance sheet. We have a very simple balance sheet. And so one could argue that this balance sheet doesn't really reflect the full value of the asset that Eloy and the team have created over the last 7-8 years, and that's how long this started. Obviously, the business in 2002 as a consultancy business, but this really unique asset that we have is not valued on this balance sheet. But even so, we've got a very robust balance sheet there. Net assets of 5.2 million, and fundamentally, on our final slide, is our cash position, which shows our 3.1 million that we've generated through the IPO process, and that money has been raised for specific purposes. As I said, primarily it's for acquisitions, and we're going to look at small acquisitions, accretive acquisitions. This is not about spending all of the money in one hit. We have a long list and a short list of potential acquisitions, number of companies that we've worked with over the years and have shown an interest in either being acquired or working with us very closely. So we are going through a process of due diligence to make sure that we only look at assets that are going to be accretive to the business. We're not looking at loss makers or anything of that nature. And the scale will be, as we've both said, will be at a level which means we can get it out of our existing cash resources. And that is it from us.
So thank you. That concludes the presentation.
That's great. Eloy, Keith, thank you very much indeed for updating investors this afternoon. Ladies and gentlemen, please do continue to submit your questions using the Q&A tab situated just on the right-hand corner of your screen. But as while Keith and Eloy take a few moments to review the investor questions submitted already, I'd like to remind you that a recording of this presentation, along with a copy of the slides and the published Q&A, can be accessed via your Investor Meet company dashboard. Keith, Eloy, as you can see, you have received a number of questions throughout today's meeting. There were a couple of pre-submitted questions as well that I've put in there for you as well. So if I may ask you to read out those questions and give a response where it's appropriate to do so, and then I'll pick up from you at the end.
Yeah, of course. Thank you. So we'll start with the pre-submitted question. There was one question around, could you please provide an update on progress with the US market and discuss the potential market opportunity? I think we've talked a little bit about the US market and the opportunity. If I can expand a little bit of that, what we are seeing in the US is a very big opportunity for our data products and our ability to collect huge amount of data, standardize it, and draw insights for that. And what we are seeing based on our market testing and conversation with existing and potential clients in market is that the level of technology and data that we have is something that at the moment they haven't got in market, and there's a big appetite for what we have to offer. So the opportunity in the market, as I mentioned, one of the partnerships that we talked to has got a client base that is bigger than the whole of the UK market. And I think that's the reality of the US market. Is a huge market with huge potential. We have been very careful as to how we approach this market because of its size and the scale. And we want to make sure that we're doing the right way so that we can scale and we can successfully capitalize on all the opportunities. So hopefully that clarifies that question. There was another pre-submitted question which I'll initiate, but then obviously I'll let Keith give his view as a CFO, which was, how will the company be impacted in the event of a severe global slowdown? I think for that we have done a lot of analysis for that eventuality, I mean, it's all over the news and has been for a while, so it's no secret. I think if you look historically at previous recessions and how those impacted us, and also, you know, it didn't get any more severe than the COVID pandemic. Our clients and our revenues are pretty resilient to recessions, and the reason for that is because what we offer clients and what they use our software, our platform, and our services is business critical. It's business critical in terms of how they operate their business. They draw the insight for it. They draw the insight for it to ensure efficiencies are implemented within their business, but also how to target and investment and reduce costs. So that's only going to take more and more prevalence in the event of a big recession. On the public sector side of things, that's obviously always tends to be more resilient, but also what our technology and insight that our platform provides allows them to attain significant savings in other areas, like, for example, health. The UK government states that for every pound they invest, if they invest it properly on physical activity, getting people active, they save £4 in health outcomes. So anything that could help them target that investment, understanding how to maximize the return on that investment, is going to be critical if there's a recession. So hopefully with that, I can reassure you that, you know, we are as ready for any potential downturn and as prepared as we can be. We've also, as a very experienced and we've been around as senior executive team for a while, we have made allowances in our operations and in our numbers going forward for all type of eventualities, especially the high cost due to increase in fuel tax and everything else. But Keith, do you want to?
Yeah, from our perspective, you know, we do have a very robust business model. So everything that Eloy has said, we have £2 million of book revenues, which we will recognise in this year. Our target, the target, so the market number that has been put out there by Seal, shows our revenue target for 22-23 as being 5.7 million. As I said, we've got an order book which has already come in at has 2 million. We have a pipeline of identified revenue targets for us of nearly 8 million. That doesn't mean we get all of it, and as Eloy has already said, that can be transferred over a number of years. So for us, we actually have a very resilient business model. Again, repeating what Eloy has said, what we've got is an ability to help and assist clients in no matter what the economic environment is. That doesn't necessarily mean we are immune, but we have a very small impact on us. All the data hub, which is unique, as Eloy said, we have over 60 integrations into our data hub. That is unique in the marketplace. Nobody else has that. So we are a point of call for a lot of people in this business sector. And when we actually move over to that commercialization of the data, the ability to just plug and play, so somebody who just wants access to the data hub, the requirement from our perspective is not, we don't have a big cost base that says, okay, we need to do this for that client. It's actually, it literally is plug and play. We can give them the access to that data for them to utilize. We have a small workforce, so total employees currently are 32. We're looking at increasing that number over the next 12 months to around the 40, 41, but that will only be done on the basis of need. This isn't about us growing headcount for the sake of headcount. And yeah, just to re-emphasize that, we do have a very good visibility of our current revenues, but it's the potential for us as well. We operate already in South America, North America, the Middle East, Europe, and the UK. So we've expanded significantly to hopefully ameliorate any issues that there is potential cost of living increases and inflation can throw at us.
Thank you, Keith. We've got a question from Nick. Nick is asking, how do we win new business globally? How big is our sales team, and who do we compete with? So I'll start with the first part of the question, which is how do we win work internationally? Our model is the same that we started in the UK, where we started getting strategic partnerships with what we call data aggregators in the industry. In the UK, it was UK Active. In Europe, is Europe Active. In Canada, is the Fitness Industry Council of Canada. And then we use that to start accumulating the data at the same time that we then build relationships with international customers that will then use as launchpad to drive that international expansion and business. It's a model that is proven successful in the UK, is proven successful in Europe, and is now proven successful in the North American market. It's very efficient because it allows us to not have to deploy hundreds of sales teams in different countries to penetrate those countries, but we actually access those countries on the back of relationships with our customers. And the reality as to why people, how do we sell, I guess is where this question is getting to. I think that the uniqueness of our data set that we have allows us to provide a level of insights that no one else can provide out there. They can provide similar type of insights just purely around a specific customer, but it's that whole market insight applied to a specific customer that is really valuable, and that really makes a difference to our customers in terms of how they run the business. And that's how we sell, and that's how we expand internationally. In terms of who do we compete with, is a question that we often get asked, and as a data company, we've now reached a size of our database and our data asset that competition tend to be more on the software. So people that try to generate the same level of insights, but they haven't got the data, so they rely on the data that the customers have or that they have access to, which provides a very narrow view of the reality. So some of the software companies out there are providing business intelligence tool, but what they lack, and is why we always come on top, is that access to the data that really gives the insight. Otherwise, it's just a software without any data to provide the insights with. I think we've got time for another question, which is from Mark. Again, he says, can you talk about the priorities for the remainder of the year? Yeah, I think it's a very good point. And I think our priorities are very much centered around the strategy that I talked about and the 4 pillars of growth. We're going to continue executing our strategy. I think we have been able to demonstrate to the market when we came in December as a very young, very new player in this space that we can grow substantially in a year. I think at the time some people raised their eyebrows as to whether we were going to make that big jump. We've demonstrated that that transition to the subscription revenue model is a reality. It's not aspiration, it's not a vision, it's actually happened. That's 104% increase in revenue on our subscription revenue. But also that we are constantly looking at ways of growing our revenue quicker, and that's materialized by the data commercialization. And I think our real focus is on the 2 areas that I described earlier, around the acquisitions and the commercialization of the data. That's not to say we're not going to focus on the other pillars, but those 2 pillars are very key to us. We believe that's where real acceleration of our growth is going to come and where we're going to be focusing on. Thank you.
That's great, Eloy, Keith. Thank you very much indeed, and thank you to all those investors that have submitted questions this afternoon. Keith, Eloy, I know investor feedback will be important to you both, and I'll shortly redirect those investors on the call to give you their thoughts and expectations. But I wondered, before doing so, if I may, Eloy, just ask you for a few closing comments just to wrap up with, and then, as I said, I'll redirect investors to give you their feedback.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, I would just like to close by, first of all, thanking you all for your time. I know sometimes the 5:30 time slot is not the most convenient to most people. So thank you for joining us here today and listening to our stories and the questions submitted. And I just wanted to leave you with the thought that, you know, we are at the beginning of a real exciting growth journey. We are profitable. We are generating revenue. We've demonstrated our ability to expand internationally. We've demonstrated our ability to transform ourselves into a subscription type business. And more importantly, we've proven that our products and services are wanted and there's a big demand internationally. So again, we're not talking about aspirations, we're talking about facts, and we are going to continue delivering on our strategy, and we're going to continue delivering what we feel was a very good set of results for this year. Thank you very much for your time.
That's great.
Thank you.
Eloy, Keith, thank you very much indeed once again for updating investors. Could I please ask investors not to close this session, as we'll now automatically redirect you for the opportunity to provide your feedback in order that the management team can really better understand your views and expectations. This will only take a few moments to complete, but I'm sure will be greatly valued by the company. On behalf of the management team of 4GLOBAL PLC, we'd like to thank you for attending this afternoon's presentation. May I wish you all a very pleasant evening. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.